This speaker has been recorded at an online meeting of Addictive Eaters Anonymous. You can email us at contact@aeainfo.org.
My name is Melanie, and I'm an addictive eater. And yeah, thanks for asking me. I was just delighted, delighted to be asked. That's the reaction I had. I was like, boy, yeah, I'll share. I'll talk. I'd love to talk. Yeah, it's nice to be asked. It just makes you really feel, um, part of. And but now, that I start, I've a little butterflies in my stomach. But yeah, often in the fellowship you're told to pause and and that you only have to share your experience, well, and your strength and your hope. That you don't have to. I don't know. Yeah. Um. So I'll give you. I'm 43 now, and addictive eating. I think, yeah, it started pretty young. I mean, um, started pretty young and got. I suppose it took a long while to get really bad, but it got just worse and worse and worse and worse. Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. And I suppose I would have told you I was binge a binge eater, but it came just just came in different forms, really. So I would have, yeah, as a teenager, just when people still living at home and people be gone to bed, going into the kitchen and just eating stuff and more stuff, and even beginning doing it, I was sneaky. Just you wouldn't eat all the biscuits, you wouldn't eat all the bread because you'd be found out. So you get very sneaky very quick, to hide it. And sure, I could be going. I could spend a lot of time just talking about the food, but it took up, and it just got to be. I thought it was this little problem, that I could just fix on my own, and by the end, though, it was, instead of something small I could fix on my own, it was something huge. And by the end, everybody. I had asked everybody for help. You know, um, family, friends, doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, treatment centers, um, and I'm still doing it. I'm still binge binge eating. You know, oh yeah, just baffling. That you could be, escalating your efforts so much, where it got to a point where it was my whole life. Was just, how was I going to stop doing it? I was either spending my time eating or wondering how I was going to stop eating. I never had any. There was never any kind of, oh, what's the word? I couldn't just be eat and be happy. And maybe that's what makes an addictive eater. And there's a part in the big book, in the doctor's opinion, and it talks about, for them, their normal life is this, and they cannot tell the truth from the false. And I was like that. That's really sad, but my normal life was either binge eating or else. At this stage, I was going to meetings of a different fellowship. So, my evenings would be spent, if I wasn't binging, I'd be going to meetings, or if it wasn't that, I'd be going to counselling. It was just, I don't know how I held down a full-time job, because it was a full-time job wondering, how are we going to fix Melanie? Gosh. So I'm I'm laughing thinking about it, but it's just I suppose it's just the way the disease is. It's just so self-centered. Um, and I suppose my experience is that I have been fortunate enough to meet people, and that's how I came into this fellowship when it started. I think it started, was it about 3.5 years ago? I could be corrected on that, but I was just attracted to what people had. A kind of oh, just it's hard to put the words. A way of life isn't, but just, yeah, just liked what these people had or what they were doing, and yeah, I just feel very lucky to have met those people. And I met them in another fellowship, and I just kind of not hung on, but stuck close, or kind of copied what they were doing. I remember thinking, if I just do what they are doing, maybe it'll rub off on me somehow. I mean, I didn't think it'd work, because for me, the disease the self-centeredness, it's just that ego. It just and it still does it today. It just tells me that I'm unique. That you don't understand. I've got it so bad, and it can't be just addictive eating. It's all these other things, and blah blah blah. But I suppose when you get desperate enough, yeah, I guess you become willing to do things. So I hung around, and it's kind of still the same, ring, because you're told in the fellowship to ring people, and it's not just checking the list. I find you want to ring people, and yeah, just, I've heard somebody call it meaningful relationships, and that sounds kind of heavy, but that's what it is, isn't it? Sharing with people, what's real and stuff. Sorry, God, I'm kind of going off on tangents. I don't, not much of a narrative here, but yeah. So I'm coming around a long time, because say my first fellowship meeting is about 20 years ago. So I like to think that my experience is helpful if you're coming around a long time and you're wondering, you know, I found the best thing I've done is just to keep coming, and with with the food, because like I'm just thinking of newcomers here tonight, and I'd be I know when I was new at meetings, I just kind of want, just tell me how to will you just tell me how to stop binge eating? Will you just tell me how to do it, and I can get out of here, because yeah, but it wasn't like that for me. I was just, when I just realized that, well, at least I'm not on my own anyway. And then I got hope that maybe that it could, that I wouldn't maybe have to die from binge eating. Um, yeah, and when I think of it now, it's just today not to have to eat is, I take it for granted, because I remember, praying to God, just, if I won't ask, if I could just not binge, God, if I could just have whatever X amount of meals a day, I'll never ask you for anything again, you know. Um, and now today I don't have to eat. Today I almost take it for granted that I can wake up and not be hungover from food. I used to get hangovers. Um, and or not be thinking, oh, if I only have this or that obsession about just to try and control and enjoy it, that obsession. God, right, it was cruel. And today I'm free of that. And sure, that in itself to me is miraculous, because I would have felt like, coming in, and a lot of coming into meetings, oh, I've eaten again, like going on for years. So I suppose in this fellowship I found a lot of people that just had a solid recovery, and that didn't have to eat, and hadn't had to eat for a long, long time. And to me, that is supremely helpful, because otherwise, and there's that message that goes along with it. Otherwise, it's kind of easy. And sometimes the disease in me, it annoys me. There's so many well people in this fellowship. It's hard to sort of wallow in the disease, because there's not many others wallowing in it. It kind of like, if somebody says, it brings you back to center. So I find that so helpful. that there's this message of recovery, and that it doesn't really change, even though I'd like it. Somebody shared at the last meeting about wanting to, there's 12 steps in the program, and they wanted to just pick the bits that suited them. And I'm laughing because I was that person, where I would do bits and pieces just when I think of, and it didn't work. So and that kind of reminds me of step one, that but sure, why, unless you're at rock bottom, why would you do all the things in this program? Because it's all wonderful. But it's all, being honest and self-sacrificing and thinking of others and making amends, and then doing, like, that addictive eaters were self-centered, and that doesn't really appeal unless we really have to do it. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So the pain of the food, because I remember as well as a newcomer asking people, there's a lot of talk about surrender as well, and reaching rock bottom, and I used to be asking people, well, tell me how to do that, and people couldn't, and I wouldn't be able to tell you now, well, Melanie, how did you surrender the food? It was just the pain of it, plus the grace of just coming back, and that somewhere along the line I just had enough grace to, I suppose, do what was suggested, um or be willing enough to do those things for maybe long enough that I just had that grace not to eat. I don't think that's explaining it very well, but yeah. And I find as well, I'm at, I'm at step one again, because to me, I put down the food, and then you put down other mind altering substances. But to me, I'm left then with, boy, I like my dependencies. I'm dependent on people. I'm dependent on what you think of me, and you hear that a lot at meetings. And it seems like, I suppose, what's it, a first world problem? If, but yeah, what am I trying? Yeah, that, and you hear a lot about a higher power in these meetings, and that's that. No human power can stop you eating, and that the program helps you to get in touch with a higher power. Something that's in you and with you always, which is just quite amazing. So that you don't have to be dependent on food or dependent on people. Um, yeah. And today I started the day early. Um, I rang my temporary sponsor, and that was wonderful. But um, it was hard. It was hard, but wonderful. And just at home, not at home. I'm staying with my mother, but and I had 3 days work, which was for I guess what you call a stay-at-home mum. So 3 days of working was like a holiday, because the kids were being minded, and I went off to, well, like the local enterprise centre. Don't know why I'm giving you all this detail. And I had 3 blissful days of just, yeah, God, it was lovely. It was just, yeah, some people, for me, I suppose, because I'm trying to get back into working outside the home, it was almost, it was lovely. And I've a bit more work next week. So that's, might sound small, but to me, to be able to do all those things is wonderful. Like, I said to God, I won't ask, just, if I could just stop binging, I won't ask you for anything else. And now I have 2 beautiful daughters. Um, and yeah, I am so blessed. And yeah, if yeah, and I'm not, and I wouldn't have any of that. I wouldn't have any of that. Um, only for this, only for the help I get in this fellowship. Um, yeah, and I you just, yeah, the head, yeah, it's funny if you just, and you're told a lot as well to ignore your thinking, and I suppose just, as well as depending on people, my thinking is addictive as well, and it just tells you most of it is lies. Um, yeah, that it's a wonderful fellowship, and yeah, I'm lucky to not come across it, but just to be part of it. And I'm not sure how much. Claire, you could tell me now that was 5 minutes, but I've kind of run out. I don't know how much time that was, but I think that's all I have to share. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for asking.